ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नित्यानंद नमस्तुभ्यं प्रेमानंद प्रदायिने कलो कल्मषनाशाय जानवापते नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरतुसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So, we welcome everyone for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, and verse number 16. We discussed Yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipashyita indriyani pramathini haranti prashabham manaha. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So we discussed this verse in great detail. That and the lesson which we discussed, that one should not be overconfident and not even confident. Uh, One should not be even so confident to challenge Maya, because the mind and senses are so strong, and impetuous means flickering and agitating. So it can forcibly carry away a man of discrimination also who is endeavoring to control them. And in the history, there are many examples, like the great sage Vishwamitra, Saubhari Rishi was also one of the examples. Lord Brahma, even Lord Shiva. So such examples are there. And Durvasha Rishi. Durvasha Rishi was also a great yogi. He was such a perfect and great yogi that he could travel to Vaikuntha planets and meet directly Lord Narayan. Just imagine, he was so powerful. Within 1 year, in 1 year, Durvasha Rishi crossed unlimited Brahmandas, unlimited universes he crossed, and he entered into Vaikuntha planet, crossed all the gates, 7 gates of Vaikuntha, and met Lord Narayan. This is so amazing. Uh, ordinary perfect yogi also cannot possibly do it, but Durvasa Muni did it. But it's still because he was not perfectly fixed in Krishna consciousness. So she was also, his mind was carried away by anger. Anger. He became angry and cursed practically Amrish Maharaj. So this is also one of the examples. That's why Krishna gave this uh, instruction. It's so powerful. So, in the previous verse, Vishya Vinivartanta, Niraharasya Dehina. So Krishna spoke the reason why, even the person who is endeavoring to artificially control mind and senses, is still he will fail. He sometimes fails because the taste for sense objects remains. But param drishtva nivartate. In this one line, param drishtva, just Krishna just said. So, although because of the great mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, we discussed what does this mean, param drishtva. But if somebody who is not a devotee and who is not under the perfect guidance of a pure devotee. So it's very difficult to understand what does Param Drishtva means. So we discussed Param Drishtva means Krishna consciousness, seeing Krishna. Param means superior, supreme, and Krishna is supreme. But others cannot understand it easily. That's why, in order to help us, help all those people who cannot directly understand the meaning of Param Drishtva. So now in today's verse, Krishna is explaining how one can control mind and senses perfect in a perfect manner, Param Drishtva. So Krishna is instructing, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matpara vasehi yasendriyani tasya pragya pratisthita. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. So this is the instruction Krishna is giving to us. So in the previous verse, verse number 59, when Krishna told, although one may artificially, though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense object remains. Means although a person may artificially control his mind and senses, still his attempt will be a failed attempt because the taste for sense enjoyment remains, and so he will again fall down. He will be forced to undergo such sensuous enjoyment. So somebody may think, oh, so what then? What is the use of artificially trying to control mind and senses? And that is what the philosophy these modern so-called philosopher or motivational speakers or sometimes doctors also give. Uh, there are many so-called motivational speakers and doctors who encourage uh, this nonsense activity of sense enjoyment, especially with regards to youth. Sometimes they encourage masturbation and all these things. So they say, why to artificially restrict it? If you artificially restrict it, then your mind will always be hankering for it, and you will not be able to focus. You will lose the focus and concentration, and you will remain frustrated, and uh, and it will forcefully come out one day. So this is all nonsense because are we not from this earthly planet? Are we not human beings? We devotees. So we never do such kind of nonsense thing, but we never feel like this forcefully coming out of this. So the simple proof uh, that this modern so-called doctors and such motivational speakers who encourage this sense enjoyment, activities of sense enjoyment, that who say artificial control should not be done, but according to version of Bhagavad Gita, this is not supported. Lord Krishna uh, means recommends that one must artificially control one's mind and senses. So this verse, in verse number 59, what Krishna is saying that though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense object remains. It does not imply that Krishna is encouraging for sense enjoyment or Krishna is not supporting artificial control over mind and senses. That's why, just to clarify it, Krishna again is telling, Tani Sarvani Samyamya. He is telling one who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control. So that is required. Any transcendentalist or any devotee, any person, anybody who wants to progress in his spiritual life, who wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, he must restrain his senses and he must keep them under full control, more than any materialist can do. So one should strictly follow this restriction of sense enjoyment, especially these four regulatory principles. As far as four regulatory principles are concerned, and out of which the fourth one must control his mind and senses. How strict one must be? As strict as our acharyas have instructed us to be. And this is possible. It's not that uh, how it is possible. I think it is not possible. Yesterday I was talking to one youth. So he was very discouraged that Prabhuji, it's impossible for me. I cannot control my lust. It's beyond my control. So the same thing, I said the same thing. It's nothing is impossible. There are many devotees who are able to do it. Why can't you do it? We have not come from Vaikuntha. So if we are able to follow, we means devotees like me, and like there are many devotees. There are hundreds and thousands of devotees who are able to strictly follow the principles. Okay, there are many others, more in number, who are unable to follow it. But even if there is one example, one person who is able to strictly follow the regulative principles, that means that proves that it is possible. At least as far as I am concerned, I see my Guru Maharaj, how strictly he followed all the principles throughout his life. There is no history at all, not even any doubt in his entire his Krishna consciousness career. Not even a single person, single time, made any statement which was doubtful on his characters. He was such a pakka, pure-hearted, no doubt at all, nothing. So if and he could do this, of course, he's a great personality. We accept, but I consider by his mercy, why can't I do? I have no power to strictly follow the regulative principles. I may have no power, but if I surrender and if I follow his instruction, so by his mercy, this is possible. Mercy means potential. Uh, So the pure devotee is a spiritual master. They uh, they uh, they they empower their disciple or followers, by which the disciple or the devotee who has surrendered unto them, they can strictly follow. That is possible. As far as I'm concerned, I can feel like this because just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, not Bhagavad Gita, Adi Purana, I think he says just like this tortoise simply by remembering uh, her eggs, she maintains, and then there is means that the child comes out. So similarly, Krishna says, similarly, I also, by meditating upon my devotees, I nourish them. And similarly, a pure devotee spiritual master, in his meditation, with deep concern for his disciples, those disciples who have surrendered unto him and who are ready to strictly follow his instructions, so they help and they pray. So by the mercy means by the prayers of devotees and by their instructions and by surrendering unto them and by taking help from them, hearing from them, all these things help, all these things together help a person to be able to become spiritually potent so that one can restrain from these activities of sense enjoyment, especially these four regulatory principles can be very strictly followed by a person or by a devotee who surrenders himself unto a genuine bona fide spiritual master, a devotee, and under his guidance, hearing from him, he executes the process of Krishna consciousness. Then it is possible. So one who otherwise, if it is not possible to restrain one's senses, mind and senses, then why would Krishna recommend in the Bhagavad Gita that one should do this? Uh, so of course, some of you may say that this particular section, Krishna is talking about a person who is already in transcendental consciousness, whose consciousness fixed upon Krishna. So he is able to follow. So Krishna is talking about such a person whose consciousness, that's a pragya pratisthita, whose consciousness is fixed upon him completely. So naturally, he is able to restrain his senses, keeping them under full control. But not only this, in third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says about a person who is unable to control his mind and senses. When Arjuna asked this question, "Atha kene prayuktoyam, atha kena prayuktoyam," पापं चरति पुरुषः अनिच्छन् अनिच्छन्नपि वार्ष्णेय बलादिवा नियोजिता. So this verse is for us. For us means for me. Arjuna is asking. O descendant of Vrishti, by what is one impelled to sinful acts even unwillingly as if engaged by force? So Krishna very beautifully explains this entire thing, but I'll just go to the solution part. The lust is so powerful and how it devours the knowledge of the living entity. But Krishna says, finally he recommends that Tashmat Tvam Indriyani Adav Niyamya Bharatarshava Papamanam Prajahiyenam Jnana Vijnananasanam. Therefore, after explaining all the ill effects of this uncontrolled lust and what can lust do to a person who doesn't regulate it or who doesn't control it, how big enemy it becomes and destroys everything. Practically everything is destroyed of such a person who cannot control his lust. Materially also he is completely bewildered, lost in this material existence, and spiritually is nowhere. And his next life is sure to become an animal. Because this is animalistic propensity. If somebody cannot control his mind and lusty desires, he is no better than an animal. Somebody who can regulate lust, he can get another chance of becoming human being. But qualification of a person who can be liberated, one who is completely freed from lusty desire, who can completely control all lust, he can become liberated. And one who can control all lust uh, becomes free from all lust and develops attachment from Krishna. He can become eligible to enter into Vaikuntha planets. But a person who can regulate it also, regulation means who can act means who can enjoy sense gratification, which are sanctioned by Vedic literatures. So, such a person can again get birth as a human being and he will get another opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness. But for him also, it's not possible to become liberated. Liberated means, so for such a regulation means to enter into Grihastha ashram, to be satisfied with one wife or one husband. That is regulation. And to have union only for the purpose of procreation, not for otherwise. So this is called regulation, regulated sense gratification. So one who undergoes regulated sense gratification, and if at till the end of his life he cannot fully overcome the lusty desires and or material desires, so he will again take birth as a human being to practice to progress again towards perfection. So at least that is also good, but not actually good because there will always be risk. So that's why those who are actually very serious about making their life perfect, so they become determined. This life, last life, no more birth again. So in order to make this life last life, one must be determined that I must become free from all material desires, especially these lusty affairs. And it's not impossible. It only requires first of all, only requires desires, willingness, and then perfect training under a perfect guidance, perfect masters. That's all. And it is possible. When we see somebody flying aeroplane, so we may think, oh, it's impossible. How he is flying? That's not possible for me. But he has gone good training, and then he got the experience. Then he is able to nicely fly aeroplane. When we see somebody is expert doctor, he is doing heart surgery, very complicated surgery, brain surgery, and so many subtle and complicated surgery. So because we did not undergo medical training, college training program, and then and other further apprentice. So for us, it may appear like it's very impossible, it's very difficult task. So yes, it is difficult, but by practice, by training, anything is possible. And Krishna says this, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena chigrihiyate. So one can overcome all these lusty feelings, lusty desires, and one can control it completely by abhyasa, by training. Abhyasa means practice of Krishna consciousness under perfect guidance. And vairagya. Vairagya means detachment. Vairagya means artificially controlling the mind and senses. Even if one is feeling agitation of mind and senses, one must not succumb to it. One must not surrender uh, to fulfill those lusty desires. Then that is called vairagya. That is detachment. And side by side, practice of Krishna consciousness, hearing, constantly hearing about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra and serving Krishna. So these two processes, one who does them very regularly, strictly, then within one lifetime, it is possible to overcome all this lust. Otherwise, not possible. This lust is there within the heart of each and every conditioned soul since time immemorial. So, it is a very wonderful thing that one is able to completely get rid of it in one lifetime. Don't think that one lifetime it's too long time. It's not long time. It's just few decades, 3, 4, 5 decades. What is the value of 3, 4, 5 decades which we have remaining in front of many trillions and trillions of births? Can you imagine? Uh, from many trillions and trillions of birth, we have been means entangled. We were entangled in these activities of sense enjoyment. What we did in all the species of life, the only thing we did is sense enjoyment, nothing else. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. That's fourth thing. You look at anybody in the entire creation, any species, beginning from ant up to Lord Brahma, any species, human being, animal, dog, cat, and birds, beast, ant, elephant, you look at anybody. Everyone is constantly engaged to fulfill their sense gratificatory desire. That's all. A dog, he gets up in the morning and runs to find out some food to eat. And when his stomach is filled, then either he'll feel sleepy, he will go and sleep, or he will search after some beach to have sex enjoyment. Uh, and then again defending to find out nobody should come on in my area, defending. So these four things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Ahar, nidra, bhaya, maithun. These four things are the only activities which every living entity in this material world is doing very uh, uh, constantly, very expertly, with all their intelligence, energy, with so seriousness. The big enterprises, big companies, big building, big educational degrees, big jobs, and so many things, business, everything. But the behind the scene, what is there? बाहर से कोई कुछ भी बोले, आई एम डूइंग इट फॉर सो मेनी नॉनसेंस थिंग, social welfare and so many things for the welfare. One, I met a person. Uh, she was telling, uh, she was says in film line. She was telling, I want to make movies for the service of humanity. Uh, I was laughing internally. For the service of humanity, you only got to make movies, nasty third class movies, to entangle them more and more. What kind of service is this? One time I heard one news, a very famous porn star, she died at the age of 26. So the many people, they were commenting that such a great social reformer, social welfare person has died. It's a great loss for humanity. Just imagine. Something which is so nasty, so abominable, which entangles everyone in this material existence. How can somebody even think that this is a social welfare service? Is it a social welfare service? Uh, This is nonsense. This is entangling. This is making. the heart of a youth to burn like anything. And because of this, the youth cannot focus on career also, materially also, everything is destroyed. I'm unable to understand why all these pornographic sites are not banned. If everyone knows this, leaders, politicians, and the person involved and the business, this porn industry has got a big business. Everyone knows this, that this is not at all good uh, for anybody, for the youth, and if they get entangled into this, all their energy is just going wasted into all these nonsense activities. Youth energy is very important for country's development. GDP is directly proportional to youthful energy. So if at all, materially also, if the government or if persons concerned to make economic develop who are there to make economic development, they want to increase GDP and make their country progress more and more. So they must stop all this nonsense thing, because more than 95% youth are just entangled into it. Uh, So what is the answer to this question? Uh, Why they are not doing this? Because everyone is selfish. Everyone is selfish, and everyone is doing whatever they are doing. They are doing just for their sense gratification. Nobody has any care or any interest in anybody else. Forget about spiritual interest, not even material interest also. Everyone is concerned for themselves. Only and only devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very eager to save all the people from the nasty activities of sense enjoyment. So that is why the business of a devotee, genuine devotee, any devotee who claims to be himself to be a genuine devotee, he must feel sad after seeing how, especially younger generation, they are getting entangled into the business of sense gratification, especially this lustful business, and they must make endeavor to make them free by by properly teaching them the process of Krishna consciousness. The teaching of Bhagavad Gita is so important, and it should be given to each and every youth of the country so that they may understand something which they think that it will satisfy them, it will make them happy. But this is not going to make them happy. This is going to make their condition more and more worse. Okay, time is up. It's going to work class. But the point is, in this third chapter also, Krishna is telling, therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses. Krishna is telling this. Tashmad Indriyani Adya. If somebody wants to overcome lust, material desires, he has to begin it from Indriya. Indriya means senses. With our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, we should restrict it to come in contact with sense objects. Indriyani ado, niyamya. Niyamya means one must control it. Bharatarshava. Papmanam prajahiyenam jnana vijnananasanam prajahiyenam. In this way, control this great symbol of lust, conquer over it. In the very curb, this great symbol of lust. But completely it is destroyed uh, after self-realization. But beginning one must do uh, to control over it artificially also. That's why we very strictly we restrict the younger generation, no free mixing, no mixing with young boys and girls, because it is going to worse the situation. Then we cannot handle such cases. It is beyond our control. So that's why this is beginning. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and then such a person, such a youth, can be nicely trained to fix his consciousness upon Krishna. Otherwise, not possible. I have experienced this from last 3 years. I'm trying to preach to some youth and trying to make him become fixed up in Krishna consciousness. So all my endeavor just went wasted. It got just wasted within a few days of association with some opposite gender. So what is the use? Why should I take such risk? That's why complete restriction. No. If anybody wants to take counseling, guidance to advance in Krishna consciousness, they must first of all restrain their senses completely, keeping them under full control. And somebody may say, it is not possible for me, Prabhuji. So, no, possible. You come and ask, will advise you how it is possible. You don't just talk to any opposite gender, then it is possible. It's not impossible thing. But if we just hanker after to satisfy to get some enjoyment, कि कुछ मजा मिल जाए, then forget about Krishna consciousness. Either you choose Krishna consciousness or you choose this temporary sense enjoyment. Choice is yours. So anyway, we'll read the purport tomorrow and discuss more about it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So if I have spoken anything which might have hurt you, I seek forgiveness. My intention was not to hurt anybody's feeling, but my intention was to make you understand if we at all want to advance in Krishna consciousness, then we must be ready to accept the principles very seriously, strictly, not laughingly. Uh, not in what you say. Seriously means it's really a serious vision. This is serious. Okay. Are there any questions? You can ask. Hare Krishna. Yes.